In this video, I'm going to walk you through a Google Sheet that I've put together. This sheet pulls in the live draw for Tennis Grand Slam, in this case Wimbledon 2023, and allows two players to each pick a team. So I actually built this for a pick'em competition with a friend of mine. We each pick 8 players from the draw. We weren't allowed to pick Djokovic or Alcaraz this year because they were too far out ahead of the others. But we pick 8 players, and you can see this allows you to pick those players from drop-down boxes. And then the draw is pulled in live. I'll talk about that later, but basically from Wikipedia, and that fills in the rounds that each player makes it to. We also have the prize money inputs in there, and so the draw can basically flow through so that your team's scores are calculated. This is massively over-engineered for a very simple thing, frankly. I mean, it's not hard to type in the prize money that a given player wins, but it was just a bit of fun. And I thought, if someone else needs something similar like I was looking for online and can't find it, that maybe this could be helpful to someone down the road. So I'll talk you through quickly what I've done. But in the end, what you're able to do, like I said, is pick players from this draw. So if I wanted to get Hugo Humbert instead of Tsitsipas, I could click in here, I could type Humbert, and I could select him from the list, but I'll leave that for now. So you can go through and pick your players from this draw. You can, if you want, override what round they get to, but I've got a formula that pulls this from the draw, which I'll show you shortly. So, like I said, we each pick 8 players, and the prize money at the end comes out for each player. You get your total, and you can see who won. So at the moment, we're only a round and a half through Wimbledon, and we're fairly even. I lost one of my players yesterday, Felix Auger-Aliassime, and most of it's been rained off yesterday. So what I've done here, as well as this page, you've also got a live draw. So this is the live draw. This is updated from Wikipedia, and you can see all the players come in here. This is all based on formulas and flow through the draw in their position. And conditional formatting also highlights the players that are in a given team. So, for example, Team 2 has Zverev in it. They'll show up, my players here are in green, and my friend's players are in red, and that flows all the way through the draw. So when Norrie and Murray won last night, or yesterday, that flows through the draw in green, and so on. Excited for this match for Murray against Timor Tsitsipas, by the way. So, how is all this working? Most of it's obviously just done in Google Sheets, but first we need to actually get the draw. And the big question for me was, where do you get this from? Because you need a draw format that's going to be fairly consistent year on year, a source where if I do this again next year, I don't really want to have to rebuild around a whole different draw format. So I went and had a bit of a look. I'm not someone that is very good in Python or anything. I'm not going to be scraping websites for things. So I wanted to be able to just use the simple Google Sheets formulas. So in here you can see there's just the basic import HTML from a URL, and you tell it what class of text or table or object that you want it to pull in, and which particular one of those you want it to grab from the website. So it's a very simple thing to do in Google Sheets that even someone like me can do without needing to write anything too complex. So after looking around, that I did settle on Wikipedia. Basically, I had no idea how to scrape things from the real source, which would be sort of the Wimbledon website or similar. And when I looked at Wikipedia, they had these tables that are very consistent. They have the same structure for 2022, 2021. So if I, hopefully they keep that structure, and next year I'll be able to just relink to the new URL. So instead of 2023 Wimbledon Championships, I should just be able to replace the 3 with a 4, and everything will flow through. But since everything is sort of nicely structured in this, I decided to use this. And you can basically just find wherever, in this case, I just had to find tables, because all of this is in objects of type table. If you look at the CSS, which I know very little about, but all you need to see is what type of object it is. It's pretty obvious it's going to be a table anyway. And then you can go into Google Sheets and use that import HTML formula to import from that particular URL table number, in this case 5. So I'm pulling the 5th table from that website, and I just played around with that number until I found that was the first sort of 8th of the men's singles draw in this case. And you can see that Wikipedia is updated pretty quickly. So as soon as these matches finish, they're really in there. So you can see here it has the scores. I don't really use the scores for anything, but it pulls in all the people, all the players, their seeds, qualifier, lucky loser, and the scores, and pulls that all in here. It's a little bit ugly and weirdly formatted when it comes out in Sheets because it needs space for all these scores. And you've got the second round that's out here, third round, fourth round, because that's what's in that table. And all of those players, when it's updated, will flow through in that table. Same thing for table number 6, the next section of the draw, etc., all the way down, and that gets you all of your first 4 rounds. After which, there's another table, a separate table, as you can see in Wikipedia, for the finals, quarterfinal, semi-final, and final. So you need to pull that in separately, and that's table number 4. So when these players play, that will also populate with their names and their scores. So like I said, this is all a little bit ugly. It has weird things in it, like when a player wins in Wikipedia, you can see their name is in there in bold. So for example, Alcaraz here is 1, so his name is bold. What that does when you pull it into Sheets is put these little asterisks sort of next on both sides of the name when it's pulling the data in. I don't want that because when we're selecting the name, I don't really want those asterisks. So you need to tidy that up. You need to get rid of the scores, make the whole draw look a little bit nicer, and also pull this quarterfinals section into the same draw. So to do that, I built another tab and made things look a little prettier, like you've already seen, and basically just pulled in all those same data points straight from my raw Wikipedia tab, but with the substitute formula, which basically gets rid of any of those asterisks, stars, whatever they're called, and replaces them with nothing. So just pulls all the names in a consistent format and makes sure that they all make sense. So all of that's fairly straightforward. There's not sort of a lot of math that's required or any complex formulas. When you get to the quarterfinals and semifinals, it gets a little bit more difficult with the data that I've used here, because in Wikipedia, let me just sort of unblock all of this. So you won't be able to actually see this now that I think about it, because basically in Wikipedia, the naming convention seems to be different for the finals. So if I show you the 2022 example of the live draw, and you can actually see these quarterfinals being pulled in, you can see it's different. Basically, the first name, instead of being N Djokovic, is Novak Djokovic. So I also had to do this step, which I just threw into my live draw down the bottom, hidden all this way so it looks prettier, where you concatenate, so pull in only the first letter of that first name so that you get that naming convention back to being consistent, because I want to be able to follow the same naming convention all the way through the draw and track Nadal, not suddenly have it change to Rafael Nadal in the quarterfinals. So this Rafael Nadal, Nadal in the quarterfinals links down to this separate section, whereas up until then, it's just being pulled straight from the Wiki Raw draw. So all of that flows through all the names. So in this 2022 version, you can see more clearly all of the reds and greens from the different teams flowing through, and the eventual champion, Novak Djokovic, coming out. And so in the 2022 one, again, this is a good example. I just threw some random names in here that played in 2022. But imagine if you'd had, as of the final, one team had Djokovic and one had Kyrgios. In this case, the team that had Djokovic, even though he won, that team wound up losing by about £500,000 because the other team had Kyrgios in the final and had better other results. So Cam Norrie and well, they've actually got Cam Norrie in there twice. So maybe I'm wrong about that team winning. No, they would actually lose if I had Kokonakis, for example. Anyway, so that's really the essence of it. If you were to use this, which you're welcome to do, I've got a copyright in there, but as long as you're not making money off it or anything, you're very welcome to use it. Basically, you just need to go and change this URL. This is exactly the same as in my 2023 one. I've just replaced 23 with 22. And then you've got to make sure that these tables are lining up with whatever you see in Wikipedia. So it's pulling the data in that consistent format, giving you these names. Once you've done that, everything should flow through quite nicely to this draw. The only risk is that this logic around adjusting the names doesn't work. So for example, in some cases I've seen maybe even in the 2022 draw, that there were some names which they hyphenated. So, it's a golf example, not a tennis one, but someone like Siwoo. Oh, here you go. So I actually forget what the first name of Quan is, but S-W Quan. Potentially, depending on how I do this naming adjustment down here, that might get broken because you'd only get S Quan, and that wouldn't be the same as they had in the other naming convention. So I think that's basically it. Once you've done all of that, these players' names, like I said, can be selected directly, and that's coming from the actual draw that you've pulled in from Wikipedia. As long as that first round is live in Wikipedia, you'll be able to pull that in. The seeds also come straight from that draw. So this column fills in automatically. The round they've reached in the draw updates automatically based on where Wikipedia has noted them getting to. And once they've lost, you'll also see the name gets struck through. So if you've reached a certain round, but not reached the next round, then the conditional formatting kicks in and the name gets struck through. And that's really it. So it's sort of, like I said, massively over-engineered to solve a very simple problem, but I enjoyed making it and thought it could be useful for other things. There might be other draws you want to pull in, for example, that could be, we need to do a little more complex math around your whatever competition you're running, where this could be a helpful base to work from. So hopefully this is useful to someone. Feel free to leave any comments. Feel free to use the document. I will add the link. And hopefully you get a chance to get something out of it. Thanks for watching.